And I'm not sure what our status is on reduction of consumption mandates are. But if the governor says something like, well, you need to reduce your level of consumption measured at the well, 20%. Well, that's going to be a direct effect on revenue, I assume, and so that type of a thing, that sort of a shock would be a reason to maintain reserves of some sort as sort of a safety margin, because our revenue is under attack by a drought situation. Okay, let's see. I noticed, by the way, that this part in the reserve policy itself, where I'm on page 26 of 30 at the very bottom, it says a guiding principle would be that reserves would allow us to respond to ever-changing environment such as drought or new water quality mandates. And I did notice that was mentioned in the rate study. It's page 1. If you ever want to read anything that's really gripping, read page 1 of the rate study. I occasionally hand them out at the market because it really tells people, it informs them of what our situations are, or what our situation is regarding to all of the work that's necessary that needs to be done. Chrome 6 would be the one that jumps out. Are some of these reserves? I noticed that I didn't mark them, but some of them, these reserve funds are essentially kind of the same. So I'm kind of asking if, say, one of the wells stops working, well 10, say, and, it's going to cost something like $1 million, not $1 million, $100,000 to get the well back up and running again. Do you, in a way, with some of these capital reserves, I think there were 2 of them, is there a way that you can actually choose which one you want to draw from? Or does it even matter at all, because the board has the ability to move money from one of these non-restricted funds to another? So is there an option for you to, like, say, draw some money from one fund and some money from another reserve fund, that type of thing? Can you do that?
So we have, yes, you're right. We have 2 related funds. We have the Emergency Capital Replacement Reserve, which is provided for emergencies or unplanned infrastructure failures. We have a $2 million balance in that, and the scenario that you described would be a perfect scenario to utilize that reserve. We could certainly choose to utilize the capital reserve account instead, but and it really would be up to the board whether we used one or the other. Again, it doesn't change the funding situation overall. If we draw down the $2 million emergency capital replacement reserve by $100,000, that's not being replenished in any way. So that will leave us with a lower balance in that reserve should any other incidents occur. The capital reserve account actually does have annual funding that's going into it. It has that $1 million, but like I said, it will be shortly when the CIRP loan runs out. We will be utilizing that funding for the CIRP program primarily, not leaving a lot of other funding for additional types of capital work, so wells and boosters and infrastructure, other infrastructure needs. So you're right. It really could be done either way.
Well, I think flexibility in an emergency is a good thing.
Yeah,
is what I like the idea of the general manager having the authority to maneuver among all of these funds to get the job done and keep the water running is really what I like. Just I'll quit talking in a second. I really like this thing. I think it's very well done. In particular, I like the guiding principles part of it. And that helps us understand what this is all about. And I also like that when you get into the definitions of these different kinds of reserve accounts, that it's kind of like a glossary built right into the darn thing. And I just think it's very nicely done. The only thing that I would and I couldn't find the information before the meeting, but I just want to see that those guiding principles are parallel very closely what some of our mission statement is and our vision and these types of things to make sure that we have a consistency in that thing. I'm kind of guessing that we do, but I want to kind of look at that before we review this thing next time. Suggestion would be too that when we do go after this thing in a year or so, that we look at it in some ways in a preliminary way so that we can do all of our little micromanaging stuff before you go to the trouble of really writing this thing in great detail. So your boat isn't tipping this way and that way by the board getting into this thing on something that you thought was already done, that type of thing. Thank you, President Rebecca, wherever you are on my screen.
Here I am. Very good, very good. Director Reynolds, you've been here a long time. What do you think?
Well, I appreciate your explanation of this, Anne. But I did have a question. If you could go back, you mentioned something that also Tom had brought up that raised my eyebrow, and that was on your remark about replenishing drawn down line items. Would you elaborate on that for me again, Anne, please?
Sure, I'll try. So in our current year's budget, we have an overall budget. We can use a few different terms here. We can call it a deficit or a drawdown, a spend down. We know that in the rate study, there was an intentional drawdown that was, it was intended to bring the reserve balances down somewhat. And that amount was $629,000 in this fiscal year. Our budget actually was passed for about 1.164 million in spend down or drawdown. So that's going to come directly out. I mean, assuming that everything comes to fruition and that our actual costs come in at that level, that funding would come out of general reserves. So it would come out of the, in this case, it would come out of the operating reserve or the cash flow reserve. And so obviously that we can't maintain a 3-month average operating balance in that account if we're spending it down in excess of what the rate study designated. Now, the rate study, again, because this budget was not in existence when the rate study was prepared, there was no way to know that there would be double the spend down or drawdown of what the rate study would predict. So there is no way that the rates would replenish that drawdown and bring us back up to the same level that the reserves are at right now. Does that help?
A little bit, yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
When we go into that budgeting, I do want to get into that deeper, but tonight's not the night for that. Thank you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Good. Thank you. Who's next on the table there? Director Doolittle. What say ye?
So I'm curious about how the reports, how this functions with the budget. So I know that the UWMP was budgeted at $95K, And that wipes out the reserves for that, but it's also in the budget itself, coming out of just regular operating expenses, right, for these reports and things?
It is in the, yes, it's in the regular budget, but the regular budget is overdrawing so you have, when you create the budget, you have your revenues and you have your expenses. And if the revenues exceed the expenses, then you have net revenues that you can utilize to either increase your reserves, or if you have greater spending, then you have revenues, then you have a drawdown of your reserves. And so even though it's in the regular budget, if the overall budget expenses exceed the revenues for that year, then we have a drawdown of reserves.
Okay, thank you.
It's not, something to particularly, pin on one item in particular. So it's a combination of spending. It is not one particular item.
Thank you.
Director Jarlsberg, there you are. Director Jarlsberg, you're next.
Hello. Obviously, I'm looking forward to studying this more, and I'm assuming that about when do we start the budget process?
Well, the budget process is currently ongoing. We hope to have something to the Finance Committee in early May, so at our May meeting. Hoping not to have a special meeting, but we may end up having an extra meeting depending on how much discussion is needed.
Okay, I was just curious how much how much time I have to study this a little more. So I really am with you. I've done budgets before, but not of this sort. So that, I need to get up to speed.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Public comment, questions? I know I've got some public out there. Nobody? Okay. Well, tonight we are reviewing the policy, receiving it for information only. And yes, I'm looking forward to the budget process. An extra workshop wouldn't hurt. And I think that this would be a good time to do this, as we're almost, coming to the end of this rate study, getting ready for another one, capital improvement project. So thank you very much, Ann, for the presentation on the reserves. Really important, looking at these levels and wondering, how we can make them really meaningful. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Item number 8, General Manager Report.
Perfect.
Mr.
So
Bannon.
we brought this up a couple times now already, so might as well start with that, and that's well 10. If the board and public remembers, that well actually went down on us towards the end of the week before last with a bad motor issue that actually came uncoupled from the shaft and tube down below the well itself. So in pulling that out, we discovered that several of the pieces of column piping and the tube and shaft itself was barely able to even be pulled apart, and was damaged in several areas. So we went ahead and did a complete repair on everything going down all the way down into the pump as well. So we spend so much money when we pull these wells out of the ground to leave anything to chance for a couple years down the road falling apart is something we try to avoid. And so we went ahead and put a new pump down there as well, because the impellers were already showing damage. So that comes to the tune of about $98,000 for the complete repair of that. And again, that's brand new from the bottom up, so, or the top down, whichever way you want to look at it. So we've received our final back T analysis on that well this morning, and it's actually putting water back into the system as we speak, actually, right now. So it got turned back on and is being used again by the district. So no well 14 issues to be afraid of there on that particular one. So Well, 14, that one is moving along as well. I expect the CRP to be back over there next week, starting to install the headworks for that treatment process, and also some of the electrical that we've received approval from Edison on. And so I'd imagine once they get back over there next week, probably be working over there for about a month straight before we transfer, waiting for some parts to finish that job over to the Tilford project. So Tilford, as you know, is our next CRP project for our water main replacement. We've got about 25,000 feet of pipe that's being replaced in that area this year and moving into next fiscal year as well. They're actually performing survey up there this week, making sure that our lines are put where we've designed them. And we expect, as I had stated in my last report, that we'll be probably starting up there to install some pipe probably for about 2 weeks to 3 weeks, probably at the beginning of May, as I said, before we move back to well 14 there for a short period of time. But that project's definitely still moving forward, and look forward to replacing some more water main. We did have scheduled for tonight auto camp, of course. We left some time for it on the agenda for quite a bit of discussion as well. Unfortunately, the manager of that project had a issue back east that required him to be busy during the evening as well. I believe it's someplace back in Minnesota where they have another one of these projects going in. And, we had planned to discuss their package plant and the amenities that are being offered over there and just kind of get a general idea of, show the public and the board how many units they're installing and water consumption and things of that nature. So they'll actually, Sam, the project manager there, will actually be coming on April 7th for that board meeting. So still scheduled just for next month now. So we do have a new website that got launched. Looks really, really good. So thank you very much to staff, Sarah and Beverly, that worked on that. Appreciate it. And encourage the board and public to jump on there and take a look. And feedback is certainly requested and appreciated on that as well. So, and I believe that wraps my report up. Anything from staff at all?
I have just one little thing that I thought might be interesting. If you have just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
As I was going through the check register, I took a few moments to look at our standby refunds. So last year, I think it was in August, the board approved refunding to certain parcels some standby payments that were made. And of the $45,000 that we had budgeted for that project, we have to date spent less than $8,000. We have provided less than $8,000 in refunds. So we're just not getting the applications that we were anticipating. We're working with NBS and they're screening all of the applications for us. But I thought that might be of interest. So we've paid out about $8,000 of the $45,000.
Director of Finance, Roman, didn't we have like a time period that those people could request that refund?
We have a time frame on our contract with with NBS.
Oh,
We do not have a time frame for the customers to request reimbursement. So even once our contract with NBS ends, we will still we'll begin managing that in-house. We were just hoping that it would handle the bulk of that activity. It just has not been as intense as we anticipated.
how much longer do we have on the contract with NBS?
I believe it was a year contract, so probably through this fall sometime.
And General Manager Van, where are the auto camp guys? They have a will serve letter, they have plans, where are they with the county and where are they with us?
Yeah, so they've basically done all that they need to do in order to obtain a meter from the district. We went through probably well over a year and a half ago the initial plan check with them to replace some water mains that needed to be replaced, mainly due to fire flow needs. because there's the apartment complex directly across the street from where they're constructing. We needed to make sure that there was adequate fire flow to handle both their project, the MBTA down the street, and the apartment complex across the way there. So they'll be installing a 12-inch water main along Verbena there for the length of their project, basically, which is pretty much where that water main ends in the dead end there, because it's a cul-de-sac. So they do have a requirement to contact us to schedule a construction meeting before they plan to start installing those water mains, and we haven't heard anything back from them on that front yet. So they have done some light grading over there to date, and from what I understand, they're still working with the county to get a few final approvals. But the project, as far as that's concerned, seems like it's a full green light from the county.
So they've got 1 meter, and then are they kind of handling it like the apartment buildings? To each kind of like pad? How are they doing it?
So they'll, I'm sorry, I didn't understand. They have, they'll actually have an irrigation and a domestic meter from us. And what they'll have is including a fire flow line too. So running all the way through their complex basically will be I believe it's a 6-inch water main that runs all through there. And then for their domestic, and then they'll have an 8-inch water main that runs through there for their fire flow. And our meter will basically be sitting out on the street. So we don't, take responsibility for any of the main lines on there. So whether or not they actually meter each individual unit or not will be up to them to do so.
Any other questions for staff?
Yes, I have a question.
Thank you. Proceed.
Yes, General Manager Ban, what is happening with the refurbishments to the building? Where are you with that? The main offices?
That's still in plan check, believe it or not, even though we have an address here. I've been told that we don't have a county assigned address actually for our facility here. So I had to fill some paperwork out for that. We're still known as 0 Cholita Road, I guess, to them. So, and had to sign a couple of waivers and stuff, but hopefully that's nearing the end of plan check so that we can put that project out to bid here shortly. So.
That's very weird. Anybody else have questions for staff?
President Unger?
Yes, Director Jarlsberg.
Just a couple of observations, I guess, for this auto park. I think they're lucky they don't seem to have too many Joshua trees on that lot. However, I understand they're going to put in a number of trees, which is going to take more water than just for the people that are there, or the laundry or cleaning or whatever. But have they talked to you about vegetation they plan to put in, that how it might affect the water use?
They have native designated trees over there. I know that they're planning on installing. And so I don't have the information in front of me right now, but we did have a total water use projection from them a couple of years back when they first started discussing the project. So I imagine that's rolled into it, but I could double check on that as well.
The other thing was that you had a map, kind of that showed how they were laying things out, that you showed us, and it was like, ooh, we'd like to get a hold of that. Is there any way that could be an attachment to the minutes or something? That was at I think the last meeting.
Yeah, I mean, we could get whoever was, we can get you a copy of that. It was shown at the meeting, so that's fine. I can email you a copy of that. So.
Okay, that'd be cool. I think Stacy was curious too. Thank you.
Sure, I'd like to have a copy of it.
Anyone else? Any comments from the public? Questions? Hearing none, I will proceed on to Kathleen Radnich, our public information consultant, who I hope is guiding the auto camp guys with some good native trees, just like we have in our demonstration garden.
Well, I thank you for your optimism. I have had the privilege of meeting with one of the owners, not of the auto camp, but of the other big development happening up near Sunfair. And I've been working a lot with him and giving him lengthy tours, discussing trees, discussing fast growth, slow growth type plants, how long it'll take them to get established. That gentleman is keenly interested in sticking with desert planting of all sorts. He wasn't even interested in anything other than. And he's not the person, though, right now in charge of the auto camps. So hopefully when they get a hold of the water district, they can drop a little mention that, I'm more than willing to take them through the garden and give them some guidelines. Our garden is an excellent teaching tool, and I'm finding it very instructive to a lot of people who are moving into the area right now who want to do something with their property. And I take them through the garden and we hone out their plan, and it's usually low water use. So, I mean, at least I think it's low water use. What they do behind my back, I don't know, but it seems they're all in to do that, to move out here and be part of the environment. And so this garden, it's over 10 years old, but it has become a great teaching tool. So I know it is a draw in our budget to maintain it, but it is very valuable, actually. So that being said, we are running a desert edible gardening class, and the third session got postponed to next week due to a government computer technology issue that wasn't mine. It's theirs. So we moved the whole class back or forward to another week from now. But all the other classes have been seriously well received, and the curriculum that was written for the desert is spot on. I personally, after going through this course, am terrified to garden now because I just don't want to work that hard. I mean, no wonder the pioneers starved. It's a lot of work. But anyway, the people, the enthusiasts who are taking the course are gaining, whether they be newbies or avid gardeners, are all walking away with something. So I feel it has been worth the while, and we will share in the near future some of the comments. We're still got to finish up class 3 before that happens. Native plant sale, as everyone knows, is right around the corner, March 28th from 1 to 3. And it's all on track, except for the weather. I'm really not happy with this cold weather we got. It's probably going to delay the gorgeous spring blooms that we get in the garden, but oh well, that's nature. But I do want to clarify, which has escaped some people, we are not selling any Joshua trees or giving away any Joshua tree seeds due to the new ordinance. And the ones that we were growing, I have been placing them in our own demonstration garden, which it's totally legal for me to do that for us. And just a little bit of trivia, it has just been announced that the Joshua tree is no longer classified as part of the lily family. It has been redesignated via its DNA to the agave family. And I thought that was fascinating. And also, if you haven't noticed, in the newspaper and on the radios, all the radio stations, we are promoting our native plant sale, the garden tours, and the free seed and plant swap booth at this event. Plus signups for the May wildcrafting course, which is already starting to fill up because many of these desert edible gardening students want to take that course as well. Moving on to the low income assistance program. I wasn't here at the last meeting to report on it, but come to find out, after speaking with United Way at great length, they're puzzled why they have had no applications. And yet in the low desert, the applications are up 400% across the board with all their clients. And there have been some hypotheses, some theories and some flat out, this is why. And some of the things we're looking at as to why we have not had people applying anymore, literally none. We've had none. Is for the very low income people, they've already taken advantage of it and they're waiting out their 12 months. We suspect that might be that. And the other thing is, again, we mentioned a while back with Governor Newsom's prohibition on turning off water for non-payment, that factors in. But that hasn't been as heavy an issue as we thought it would be. What's happening, according to customer service, is apparently more people are attempting to work out a payment plan when they get behind. And a lot of these people are multiple, like they have a home in LA and then they're moving out here too because of COVID. And it's a different demographic, or the word I was given was gentrification has changed for Joshua Tree, possibly significantly. That's to our benefit, I hope. It may be a little early to tell, but right now I have mentioned to the United Way to just keep the program going. We'll keep talking about it. We're not ready to do anything to change anything. Let's just see how things play out. But that might be something we want to talk about at a future legislative PIC meeting. And that is my report. Yep.
Do I have any questions for Kathleen? Seeing none, I'm going to move ahead to the Mojave Water Agency Board meeting of February 25th. Director Reynolds.
There's
Oh.
2 questions. Yeah, we both had
For
questions.
Kathleen?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Jane, I saw you.
yeah.
Yes, okay.
I have a question. And we'll probably talk about this in the committee meeting, but when is the next legislative committee or the committee that's concerned with legislation?
Okay, it is the first Wednesday morning at 9:30 in April, which I think is the 7th.
It's the 7th.
Okay, so it's not too far off. I was just concerned about the 2 bills, 222 and 223, and what kind of concerns we might have for them and advocacy for it. I think what they're talking about is helping people who are struggling with bills, but the fact that there isn't money coming to the districts who are not being paid, and that they may need to refine these bills to benefit the districts that are servicing the poorer population. But I think hopefully they're not going to need anything before our next meeting. We can talk about it.
Question for General Manager Ban. What is the request from the state for how we're being impacted by the inability to turn off water?
Yeah.
COVID. Have we reported on that? I don't recall where we stood on that.
There was a secondary short survey that they sent out probably 3 months ago, and I haven't heard anything back about it yet.
Yeah, well, okay, I am sure Director Jarlsberg and President Unger, who attended the legislative meeting as I did for the Alliance for, what was it, Aqua? Let's see.
Yeah.
Associated, I always get the 2. There's Aqua and AWAC, but the Association of California Water Agencies, the legislative thing we went through. Honestly, I don't think they have an answer yet for anything. So that's what I came away with. So I don't think anything's going to happen soon on anything. It was a bunch of maybe this and that's. That's what I got from it. So I don't
know
think.
the last, one of the last Aqua newsletters, they printed some of that, and it's like, billions of dollars that California families have gone into debt, are behind on their bills, water especially. So it's a heavy impact this COVID year.
Like, they didn't seem to have a solution that I came away with.
Yeah. But I think that the bills don't address the districts that are hurting, not just the consumers.
I don't think, I agree, Director Jarlsberg. I just don't think they have an answer for anything. And
Right,
yeah,
I know.
at our next meeting, we can beat that one up.
Okay. Okay.
Director Doolittle, I think you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, I wanted to come to the farmer's market on Saturday, and I just wanted to announce that to the other board members so that we didn't get an accidental quorum. Is that all right?
You're always welcome. And as long as you guys don't discuss anything of significance and you just
Okay.
greet our public and let them know who you are, we're totally safe. But let me tell you, you have impeccable timing to pick a beautiful weekend after we've been blown away and frozen out the last 3 weekends. So I welcome you with open arms.
Yeah, I'm thinking about coming too, but maybe I'll probably come late. I don't know if Stacy will come earlier, but we may not be there at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mojave Water Agency Board meeting of February 25th, Director Reynolds.
Okay, thank you. My computer seems to be freezing up. Mojave Water Agency, unfortunately, I did not attend. I decided to go visit Loma Linda Hospital instead. Had a great time. And that concludes my report.
Oh my gosh. All right, moving right along, Citizens Advisory Council meeting of March 9th, the chairperson, Barbara Dolph.
Yeah. The first thing on the agenda is we had a re-election of officers, and myself, I was appointed chair, and David Creel was appointed vice chair, and both my nominations were with unanimous motions. Then we went on to the new CAC member applications. The CAC asked a lot of questions for Hannah Campbell and Kathy Carrillo. And they were asking very good questions and actually gave some very well thought answers and did well. And I recommended that both get nominated and their applications go over to the board for consideration. And hopefully that will be on the next board meeting because we would really like to get them on the CAC because they're both really sharp and I think they'll be a real asset. Then we went on to the roles and responsibilities of the CAC, and General Manager Band started out the conversation and just went over some of the things that he and the district would expect us to do. And then we had some suggestions on how to better support the board in the district. And we went through quite a few of them, and we will better explore those options at our next meeting and have some discussions. One of the things that we talked about was, it was brought up, was the rate increase communication to the ratepayers. And between a couple of the members and General Manager Ban, we went over the process and had some great suggestions, which I think will be quite timely when after the rate study is done and we know that there's going to be a rate increase. So the CAC may be able to help with that. We also talked about grants, and General Manager Ban answered some of the questions from some of the CAC members. We also discussed about having a monthly meeting so that there wouldn't be so much downtime in between. And we thought maybe it would spur participation and help maintain membership. So General Manager Ban said that shouldn't be a problem. And if there was downtime and we had nothing really pertinent to discuss, that we could use that to buy some training for the CAC members. And then I also want to recognize Director of Operations James Corbin, because Dawn Davis, who is a member of the public who attended the meeting, who had the complaint, the noise complaint, who expressed it to many people in the district, she totally appreciated James, or Jim, I call him Jim, his help in getting that resolved for her, and she was extremely happy. And I think that that is awesome. And we also highly suggested that if any CAC members have a member of the, or a ratepayer, a member of the public that is having a problem, invite them to a CAC meeting where it can be discussed, and it alleviates some phone calls to the district, which is having a hard time with the remodel and, you know, the whole thing that's going on. And we may be able to get it resolved more exponentially and get it, just keep the public happy and the ratepayers happy. And that was pretty much the gist of the meeting.
Well, that was great. Thank you, Barbara, and thanks for thinking of the board. And nice shout out for Jim. That's great. And a nice invitation to the public. Yeah, you know, the Citizens Advisory Council, that's for them too. And a good place to bring questions before they get, you know, real serious, and a nice friendly place to meet. Anyone have any questions for Barbara?
President Unger?
Yes.
When is the next scheduled meeting, and are you thinking about meeting in a month instead of 2?
Well, the next scheduled meeting is, I think it's May 11th. Yeah, May 11th. There's a possibility we could have an April meeting, but that may just be, you know, a little far reaching. Maybe at the May meeting we can discuss definitely having a monthly meeting. And that's something we'd have to talk to General Manager Van and also Beverly, because Beverly is obviously involved in the scheduling of and coordinating everyone's schedule. So yeah, but our next scheduled meeting is May 11th.
Okay.
Thank you. Finance Committee meeting of March 10th. The board got to see a couple of things that we did discuss there. 3 things, actually. I don't really have anything to add. Tom, do you want have anything to add about the Finance Committee?
No, I'm always ready to defer comment about that meeting to the board president.
Oh. Hearing none, Water Resources and Operation Committee, March 10th, Director Reynolds and Director Doolittle.
Well, thank you. We attended that meeting. It was a virtual meeting, naturally, via Zoom. And Mark Ban basically recapped all the excitement of Well 10. And it was interesting to hear, you know, the condition of the piping going in the ground. And it had to be literally cut into pieces, removing it all apart. So actually timing worked out pretty darn good. I don't think we would have had many more years left on all of that. We would have gone through great lengths to repair that well, only to discover more problems in the future. Deja vu. So it was an expensive endeavor. However, I do believe that was money well spent. And well, naturally, there was no choice in the matter. We had to do it. Thanks for that update, Mark. Another update on well 14 and 4-log, and again, Mark gave a report on that, so well, there's no need for me to mimic what he just said, and that's all I have. Director Doolittle, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I have nothing to add.
Any questions for the Water Resource Committee? Hearing none, Mojave Water Agency Board meeting of March 11th. Vice President Flowen.
Yes, ma'am, I did attend. It was a good meeting. I kind of liked it. I would recommend, by the way, that everyone, if possible, set aside some time and watch that one. They had, and I'm looking through my notes here, They had one Dr. Christopher Thornburg give sort of a forecast of what's going on potentially in the future economically with the economy is what I'm getting at. And he monitors these things. When you go to their website, if you go to the agenda and you click on an item on their agenda, it will go to the appropriate space in the recording of the meeting. So you don't have to go look for things yourself. It's pretty handy to use. But I'll just hit a few of these things. He indicated that probably people selling things online, having online businesses and stuff is probably, which was spurred by the COVID thing, but it's probably a forever thing now. It's permanent. He also said that the tendency for people to work at home, though, contradictory, he said that has been somewhat overstated. I think if you look at the freeways on those channel KTLA traffic reports, you could see that people are still driving to work in the morning. He pointed out that the partisanship, legislatively speaking, has not gone away. He said that taxable sales, retail sales, I think, have bounced upward. There have been, he said, and I'm not sure where this is, but he said there's been a 75% drop in COVID cases, but I'm not sure what his venue is for that. It could be just San Bernardino County, I'm not sure. He says that as far as a sort of a recession or a slowdown in the economy has not affected real estate prices at all. That he said, quote, the real estate markets are on fire, he said. I think we would all agree with that one. Home sales are up in San Bernardino County, and that, and this is a kind of a common sense thing, that the lack of housing is an impediment to the growth of the economy. And that makes sense. Let's see. And there was a survey done that he mentioned, and I don't know specifically, I'd have to re-listen to the recording, but he said there was a survey done on the pandemic, and the question was, what's the first thing you're going to do? That's what they asked the respondents, and the answer was travel. That would affect our park and all that stuff. He said that for every dollar that dropped from the economy, the government put back $2, which I thought was that was a good one. I thought. I assume that's through these. I forget the term for these relief things, that these packages that the feds are putting out with billions of dollars going back out to people. He said that the housing boom is not a bubble, it's the real deal. And what they look at apparently to kind of gauge this is the number of foreclosures, and I guess those are down. And that's he said other things too that are very interesting. It was gripping, I thought. And so I recommend that if anybody has some time, that they go to MWA's website and look in that March 11 recording and click on this Thornburg guy, because he said a lot in a short period of time. Thank you, President Unger.
And thank you. Association of San Bernardino County Special Districts, Director Reynolds.
Well, thank you. For the same reason I didn't make the Mojave Water Agency, I didn't attend the special districts meeting, which was very sad because I was really looking forward to a meeting in real life. I was so excited that if you remember our last board meeting, I was planning on being in Arkansas. I was going to drop what I was doing and make the trip, and it was very disappointing I didn't make it. But
Well,
the
it
good
was
news
a
is I'm
virtual
on med and
meeting.
life is good. And then only to find out it was a virtual meeting and I probably attended anyway.
Well, you're up next. Did you go to the LAFCO meeting this morning?
I did.
And
Wow. A whole lot to report about the LAFCO meeting. Let's sit down and get comfortable. They swore in Supervisor Joe Baca, and then they went into closed session. I sat around for 45 minutes and gave up.
oh, geez.
I don't know if they ever reconvened or not, but um, a person with ADD can only sit there for so long.
Oh, and that's actually worth reporting on that. Thank you very much. Sorry.
In all reality, we do it right. We have our meeting, and then at the end of the meeting, we step into a closed session, and not to be an inconvenience to people that are, okay, how long is it going to be? How much longer should I wait? Or, I thought it was a little on the inconsiderate side.
I would agree. The supervisor meetings often used to do that too. You'd get there and boy, you'd be sitting around waiting for them to come out of the chamber. So directors' comments. This is an opportunity for board members to make general comments concerning the district business. So at the other end of the table there, Director Doolittle.
I don't believe I have anything this evening. Thank you.
Director Jarlsberg.
Well, as usual, I do have something.
Go ahead. Let her rip.
However, not too lengthy. One of the things is it's been mentioned just now. Director Flowen was mentioning check the recording, and I've had a question. What happens to the recordings of our meetings, especially when I want to review them? When we're looking at the minutes, the last minutes, I thought that there was something in the minute, not in the minutes, but I wanted to review the recording to refresh my memory, and I wasn't sure how to do it. So I'm looking for how to do that. And
Director Jarlsberg,
yes.
we've had some problems with our Zoom meetings with the recording lately, and Bob Stevenson I sent 2 recordings to him to try to fix it so we can put them on the website.
Okay.
Generally, if you go to the website, you will find that it says, agenda packet, minutes, and then it'll have the actual recording. But because we've had a couple of issues, then we're having him fix them. But generally, they will be online and they will be on YouTube.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't start looking, so.
Okay.
Thank you for that information. And then the other little thing was, actually we discussed this afternoon the potential of attending board meetings of other water districts that are nearby, and that we can do it informally as a member of the public. But I'm wondering if we do attend a meeting like that, would it be appropriate to report what we saw, either in comment moment or listed as a board attended, meeting attended. So
By all means, tattle on them.
well, we
Well,
talked
I was
about
kind
the
of
fact
thinking maybe Jeff would have a comment on this of what happens if all 5 board members attend one other meeting.
That would be, I believe there is an exception in the Brown Act that board members can attend a publicly noticed meeting of another agency, if that were to occur. Obviously, they can't discuss among themselves any business of the district or anything within the jurisdiction of Joshua Basin Water District. But there is an exception in the Brown Act, I believe. I will confirm that, but that is my recollection.
And that would be if it was a virtual meeting. If we were to chat back and forth between 3 people, that would definitely be a violation of the Brown Act. That would be a serial meeting.
Yeah, you just can't talk amongst yourselves, but you can attend a noticed meeting of another agency.
Okay, and I just had another thought of that. Where'd that thought go? I'm not sure. All right, I guess I'm done.
Director Reynolds, got anything else to add?
Oh, boy, get me started. Thank you. First, I'd like to recognize Frank and Barbara and say thank you for attending tonight. It's nice to see you out, and your attendance is welcome, and your input is much appreciated, both of you. Thank you. On a second note, I'd also like to recognize Beverly. She is just the best there ever was, and I just wanted to tell the whole world how much I appreciate all the help that she has given to me, and as well as everybody else. But Beverly, you're just the best. I really am grateful about you.
Thank you, Director Reynolds.
Yay!
On another note, well, golly, COVID is real. Stay away from it. Just to give you an update, I had COVID, and it was early December. I caught it, and it lasted one day. I was sick for one day, and I had a fever for half a day. Thought it was a goner, and about 2 weeks later, the after effects of COVID started kicking in, and that.
Oh, and that froze your computer.
Director Reynolds?
Just jiggle the handle. Yo, Mike.
Can you go back out and come back in? Mike, you're frozen. Director Reynolds, you're frozen. Okay. There he goes.
Oh, for some reason, my
There you go.
flipped. All the screen went blank. And that concludes my report. And y'all have a good day.
Sorry to hear you were sick, Mike. Good heavens. Vice President Flowen.
I think just one thing. By the way, I do at that auto camp down there at the highway in Sunburst, I have seen some tractor activity farther into the land space that they have there. I kind of detected that today around 1:30 or so. So they're doing something over there. I got a call from a neighbor alerting me that something was going on with his meter. There were a couple of trucks out front, and he was a little bit alarmed, and he wanted to know if I knew what was going on. I speculated that it was the meter replacement, and simultaneously, one of the guys conducting this replacement was explaining to him what they were doing, and that it was only going to last about 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that. So he settled down very nicely. And I thought, gee, I kind of missed an opportunity to go and actually witness a meter replacement. And then about 15 minutes later, I see the trucks along the side of my property, and they were replacing my meter. And so I got to share some time with Spencer, Dylan, and Micah. They're on the CIRP team. And it was a pleasant experience. Very bright, energetic guys. Kudos to whoever, Sarah, hired those folks because they are excellent, energetic people. You could tell when they were working, there was a sense of urgency in their activities. Obviously, they're aware that my water is off during the time that they're replacing my meter. And again, it's one of those situations where every time I encounter water company employees, I'm just impressed with their knowledge and their energy level, their enthusiasm for doing their work. And so just kudos to those guys. I thought they were great. Young people, too, young people. Very impressive. That's all I have. Thank you.
I don't really have anything to add. Just thank everybody for being here. Jeff, thank Nicole for coming in and doing the flag salute for us.
I will. That was perfect.
And this is time now for future agenda requests. Now, bear in mind that future doesn't necessarily mean next meeting, but these are future agenda items that you might want to see. I'll start. Tom, you were last in. You can be first out on this one. Got anything you want to put on the agenda in the future?
I've got some things that I'm thinking about, but I don't know if they're necessarily appropriate. But a suggestion would be that we kind of reinterpret that expression future agenda items, that we need to agendize some discussions about the future of the water company. And because you look at the well 10 thing, you look at the well 14 thing, some of these surprise breaks, the fact that it takes two guys in a huge 5-foot long wrench to open a valve because the valves are not exercised properly. Some of this stuff is going to come up. I think I'm going to bring it up when we start talking about the rate study. And whether or not we actually need more people to cover all of the bases here. Because here we are, for example, we're doing Tilford, we're doing well 14, we're doing a meter exchange, we're repairing pipes that other utilities poke holes in, and then well 10 blows up. That's my term for it. It became unusable. And we've got guys that are running from one thing to another, trying to, you don't have enough people on the playing field, so to speak. So at some point in the future, the idea of having more people, I'm concerned about reducing the stress level in the office. Over the volumes of work and deadlines that our staff, in particular, I see Autumn nodding her head, the accounting staff and what they have to do. Sarah is frequently buried in things. It's just, one thing after another. The general manager only just received help from Jim Corbin. We've been doing without in that position for a long time. I'm just concerned about the possible lack of staffing, and then in the rate study, the current one, we're talking about Dudek is telling our rate study people, that'd be Mr. Handlers, that we're going to need $2.5 million each year in our budget for the next 30 years to do the work that needs to be done. And in the meantime, things are falling apart. And so it seems to me that one of the things in a future agenda item that we should talk about, maybe in the finance committee or something first, or in the resource one, we need to start talking about whether or not, and we need more help to do the things that need to be done so that we can reliably deliver water to the people that are going to demand it if we interrupt the supply. Enough said. Thank you.
Tom, I like you, but I think those are more like director comments.
Well, I got rolling there. I apologize.
You did.
Moving right along. What was the agenda item?
Moving right along. Director Reynolds, anything you want to see as a future agenda item?
I don't have anything new to request. We have talked about getting a report on water meter sales. With the construction on the rise, we were getting reports on it back in the good old days. And then when construction and everything came to a cease, it was big and exciting to hear, hey, we sold 2.5 water meters last year. And I do believe we're selling more than that now. Although on the top of my head, I don't know how many we're selling, but I do see activity, lots and lots of activity out here. So I would like to hear about that.
That was in the second quarter report on page 13, cash flow. 9 meter installs in the last quarter. That was in the
Okay,
quarterly
I
report.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, additionally, it's nice to hear about the mechanics of what's happening in the water district. And so I do like those reports. And I will shut up at this point. I'm done.
Director Charles Rigg, what would you like to have on the future agenda item? Oop, you're muted.
Yeah, I think I already said mostly, but maybe any additional meetings that we deem necessary, will end up being on the agenda.
Like I say, anyone can go to them as long as we don't disturb the Brown Act, we're okay. And like I say, certainly feel free to tattle on people. These are field reports. People are,
Okay.
all the meetings you go to, all the things you hear and see, these are field reports. We all can't be everywhere at once, but 5 of us, we can get around. And that's, I really like that. Director Doolittle, anything that you would like to see as a future agenda item?
Well, I'd like to know, I've already suggested one time before that LAFCO come and present, and I hope that's captured. I'd also like to understand the development process, and I would like to see a presentation on the development process, such as, what occurs when. That's something that I don't necessarily understand.
Kind of how it finally gets to the water district, where they come up with a plan, go to the county, where do we get involved in it, and kind of what that, there is a lot of development going on. That might be something. Mark, how would we do a presentation on that? What could we do without talking about anybody's personal business as the developers?
No, we could certainly put a step-by-step process together on a PowerPoint or something and bring it to the board.
And kind of call it from how it gets to us, and then all the steps that we take that we are a part of, depending on the project, like the AutoCam guys, a package plant, a big water main, everything else that goes on. People are looking at other projects here, so that would be good. So we'll just call it the road to development, or what?
Yeah, I just wrote down
development process.
Development process on there. That'll be good.
I don't have anything at this point for a future agenda item, but we do have plenty of meetings coming up. March 25th, we have the Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors meetings. That's Director Doolittle. The Mojave Water Agency TAC meeting on April 1st. That's Director Reynolds. We have a board meeting on April 7th. The Legislative and Public Information Committee, that meets on April 7th. Mojave Water Agency Board of Directors on April 8th, that's Vice President Flowen. The Finance Committee, April 14th, that's myself and Vice President Flowen. Water Resources, same day, April 14th, and that's Director Reynolds and Director Doolittle. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All in
Second.
favor say aye.
Right.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. Good meeting. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good night. And thank you for making Nicole do the pledge. She's gone. I couldn't have hazed better myself. So have a good night.
You too, Jeff. Thanks a lot, bud.
No problem.
Yeah.